Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Bree Noble, and I am here with Jastin Artis from A&R in Your Pocket. I love that name, and we'll get into later like why he called it that. And first, I like to go into the journey of the artist that I'm talking to. So I know that Jastin has a lot to share. So just let us know, like, how did you start out in music? What kind of led you to where you are today? And you don't need to like censor yourself. Like, I want to hear the whole story because it's really helpful, I think, for musicians to hear where people have been and what twists and turns in their path have led them to where they are now.
Absolutely. Well, first, let me start off saying it's an honor to be here. I thank God for the opportunity. And as always, I want to shout out my wife, Kelly, I love you. And my boys, Jason, Jameis, I love you. Jameis, rest in heaven. So I love that I can get to share this. And anytime I do, I try to make it a little different or try to remember some things in the beginning that I haven't shared. But my journey started 20 some plus years ago. This is before YouTube University, Googling things, even before Facebook popped off. So I'm in school and I'm teaching myself how to play guitar. And literally, I basically had a moment listening to a friend that was growing up with in high school. We wrote poetry together. He played guitar, and Stairway to Heaven was the song that got me to play guitar. And so when I asked my mom, she was like, no way in the world. I think I was like 16, so like sophomore, junior ish. And so when I graduated, my uncle, shout out to my uncle Joe, and his family got me a guitar. And so I had been writing for a while with poetry. My senior project, I interviewed a poet. So like I really understood writing and poetry. But something was like, you know what? I'm playing guitar. I was like, maybe I should try to learn how to play a song, write a song. And I did it, and that process changed my life.
Mm.
I ended up going to the library, Bree. So shout out to those that know what that is. um, Instead of going to, online, I went to the library and I started getting songwriting books. And then I started getting like music industry stuff. And so, dwindling it all down, I was like, okay, songwriting is what I want to do. This is where I will make some money if I write great songs. And I started there. And over the years, I think the first 8 or 9 years was just about writing songs, getting people to sing them, finding artists, vocalists, male and female, to sing them. I was partnering with the high school friend of mine. We went to college together, and so we were writing songs together, pitching, actually, like getting the brown envelopes and mailing them off,
Oh, I
right?
remember that.
Yeah, yeah. So I never wanted to be an artist. I felt like, looking back, I saw that I studied music without even knowing it. I was around music without even knowing like this would be a profession of mine. I mean, I have family that's in the business. Um, one is really successful. Um, I was around people who were creating music in some form or fashion. I was a band geek. Shout out to all my band geeks. I played clarinet, second or third chair.
I was a choir
um,
geek, so
oh,
yeah,
really? Okay,
it's a
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a thing. And I did it from elementary all the way to high school. I did marching band and everything.
Wow.
So I was infused in music, but I never had a desire to do music, right? So the irony there is crazy. If I take another step, artist is actually my middle name. So I guess I was ordained and destined to be an artist. But after like 9, 10 years, being a man of faith, I just heard God tell me, like, I want you to be an artist. And I was like, no way. I don't, it's too much. Like the responsibility. I think somewhere around that time, or at least growing into developing my skills, you always heard that messaging about being in entertainment or being a pro athlete, that I'm not a role model, I'm not this, I'm not that. I beg to differ. So it was like, I didn't want that, so don't let me step into that. But of course, I was obedient. And for the last, I think, 15, 16 years now, I've been an artist. I have something to say. I put out 12 albums, been very independent, right? the profitable musician, the essence of what you do and share. I have absolutely done that. And it's still kind of crazy even at this point. So yeah, thank you for letting me share that that journey.
Wow, that's cool. So along the way, like when you were writing songs and all that stuff, like were you supporting yourself with other things? Were you teaching? Were you a bartender? Were you a barista? Like what were you doing on the side?
Absolutely. So when I started college, shout out to North Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride. Um, I was a computer science major. I was all about computers. That's what I love to do. Given my era, I'm like on the cusp of technology. Transcending with the internet and all these things in social media. So I saw that and I loved it. But Bree, when I got to A&T, took C++, plus plus, I was like, man, I'm not getting this. This is not, I don't know, it all of a sudden seemed very foreign. And so I quickly, I mean, literally, I think by fall break, which I think is, we go to school in August. So
Yeah, it's
by
like
like
2 months in.
October,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I
Yep.
changed when I came back to English because it
Oh,
was the only thing I knew I was good in. Again, writing poetry, my
okay,
teachers
love hearing
always
this.
loved
My
that.
husband, my husband's an English professor.
Oh, salute him. Um, so I switched to English, and the goal was to be an editorial writer. I felt like at that point I knew I loved like films and music, so let's write about it. But that was very difficult. So of course, like most of us, I had an extended stay in school. I had to end up dropping out due to a freak accident. And so yeah, I journeyed from I yeah, I think when I first got out, I started not bartending, but being a server, macaroni grill.
Oh,
My only
oh,
serving job.
were you singing
I
too?
was not singing. I was
Oh,
not singing. I let everybody else do that, but I did do a lot of stuff. I fell in love with serving. It, I think the idea of like all these things you have to do, you have these three or four tables, and you have to make sure that you take care of them. You're helping your team, you're watching the cooks cook, you're running food, like you're doing all these things. And Brie, I'm either 100% in or 100% out. So I go hard in everything that I do. So I took it very seriously. It was nerve-wracking at first, but then I got it and I fell in love with it. And then I think like when the economy crashed in '08, I had to find something else because I wasn't making great money anymore serving. And so I did step into teaching because as English majors, everybody asks, are you going to teach? You're a teacher? And I'm like, no, I do not want to teach. I absolutely don't want to. But I ended up doing it. I started substituting, fell in love with that, and I think that is where I found that I had a gift in that. So I think learning music, starting in college, you become that person where, hey, he does that music stuff. You should talk to him about working on a song or whatever. And so I found myself telling people um, just what I've learned, just learning everything on my own, that type of thing. So yeah, I mean I've done a lot of different things. I've worked at the airport for a while, doing security, like what is it called? Clear. I think everybody should know who they are now. But I
yeah.
started with them when they didn't, when they were new. Um, I tried to stay within obviously what I went to school for, but
Mm.
we all know that does not happen. And so yes, I basically have done the 40-hour work week and then spent another probably 40 hours or so at night working, crafting, as I like to call it, in terms of, being a musician, writing, business stuff, reaching out, connecting with people, all those things. I absolutely did it pretty much every night after work. And of
Wow.
course, that's what I did on the weekends. So,
And at this point, did you have a family yet, or is this while you were still single?
still single, then, um, about 2012. I got married, had the family, and of course, I'm the type of guy that I don't believe um, things should stop you from doing or pursuing what you love, your purpose, whatever you like to call it. Um, And I'm very firm on that. And so I wove that into my family. I would say, hey, this is the hours that I'm working in the home studio. Um, I had stepkids and then we had our own child. And so even with the stepkids, I would have them in the studio as often as
Mm.
they wanted to be to watch me, to teach them. And then unfortunately, got a divorce, so I had to go through that challenge and ups and downs. And so with all the challenges, work, shifting jobs, like all of that, I always like to say it can slow you down, but it can't stop you.
Mm.
So all while I'm still pursuing music and my education and all these different things. And I think 2019, so right before COVID, I got let go from a job that I just signed a contract with. And then I also lost my second child at the same time, Bree.
Oh.
And I did the whole job thing, like looking for another job. By this time, I have like 2 degrees. I have all this experience. I'm like, there's no way in the world that it should take me any time to get a new job. It's not like it used to be, but it was like, it shouldn't take me. It was taking me several months. And then finally I said, you know what? I'm just going to go for music 100%.
Mm.
I can't do this anymore. This is what I love. This is what I know the most about. Let me go for it. And I'll be honest, I was living at home still at the time from the divorce. My mom was very like firm and old school in the sense of you get a job, you lose a job, you get another one. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
I was terrified, Bree, because I knew what she was about. She always did give me like this, make money the best way you can, and obviously legally, but I guess I was just always terrified to like really step out. But like I always say, like God will either put you in a position that you have to, and to some degree, I felt like I had to. So now it's been what, 6 years or so. I have been a full-time musician. I'm remarried, and my wife is super supportive of me, but she's the 9 to 5er, and I'm the the entrepreneur. So
That's awesome. So you went full time in music right before COVID. So how did that work?
yes, oh my gosh, it was it was like the summer of 2019, right? So it was cool at first, and then it's like, wait, I'm really doing this. And so it was more about, me just full time in music. And I've always been a believer, and I guess I learned obviously that there's more to music and being an artist than say, hey, I have an album. Now can you stream it? Right.
Right.
So there's other things that I can do. I'm a producer, I'm an engineer. Um, by this time I'm standing firm as being an A&R and finding artists and working with them. So I knew there was a lot of things that I could do. It was just trying to like figure how I'm going to do it and creating the systems and all this stuff. So by the time COVID came, I was just kind of like, well, y'all, welcome to my world, because I've been working from home all this time. Of course, we all know it's a tragedy, but there was a lot of good. And I think by the time COVID came around, I literally was pretty comfortable with working from home. And
Mm.
now that everybody has to do it, honestly, what I have been doing for years in terms of connecting and building relationships and showing up to events. Now I'm showing up to events online. I went to Full Sail for my first master's. I think I graduated in 2018. So I had to implement already my business plan. So I already had like these ideas and systems of how I was going to make this work. And so I didn't see it so much as a setback, for me, mainly because I was already there, but two, music operates a little bit differently. And then I think a big part of, I guess, me getting through COVID, so to speak, is finally believing in sync licensing. That's really where it
Mm.
was like, I'm ready to do this. I believe now I can create my music and do all the things that this business entails in terms of deadlines and creating for this and understanding the briefs. And so when I started doing that, that changed things a lot too. So still challenging, still difficult, still obviously ups and downs, but yeah, by the time COVID came, I was like, yeah, I'm okay.
Well, you had a
Give it a
similar
shot.
situation to me. Like I was just like, oh, now everybody's doing what I've been doing all this time, right?
Hmm.
Working from home and, I'd built a business around that. And
Right.
so I was curious because, obviously there weren't live performances, but if
Hmm.
you had
Hmm.
built up your engineering and all that, and you were working with artists as A&R, like that is what they were doing during that time. They were producing music. Like
Yes. Yep.
I was running my Rock Your Next Release program all during that time, and everybody was recording.
Hmm.
Everybody was like writing
Hmm.
songs and recording. That's what they were doing. So you were, in a way, at the right place at the right time for all of
Yes.
that.
Yep. And I think I would say my mindset around already knowing and being aware and not being afraid to say, okay, I'm an artist. I make music. I put out my own music and I want people to buy it. Well, there's more to it than that. There's other things that I can do. So I was already playing around with doing live shows online,
Mm,
doing my live streams, figuring out like the best sound and like all of these things. So when COVID came, of course it was a hit because I was at the time I was performing pretty regularly every month. So that's obviously a great feeling. Um, but it wasn't as drastic of a switch in terms of, well, how do I still share what I do? And then, we're in an era now, like everybody and their mama, does music, but I can't work with everyone, unfortunately. So
mm,
trying to find the right people uh, that want to be coached, that are thinking more than just, oh, I just need a viral post, or um, if I get these million streams, then I can sign a label deal. Like, all the traditional stuff still people think in 2025 that you have to do or you should be doing. I was still very aware of that years before COVID. So the shift and finding people that were making things happen, building these different platforms, I was all over
mm.
it. So it was really fun, but it was also like, well, let me find something that fits what I'm about, what I want to bring to the table. And as always, not letting anything stop me from creating and helping other artists. Um, you just got to find those other things. And so I was very intuitive about that.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see why you've been on my email list all this time because you obviously weave in this entrepreneurial
Hmm.
bent, right? So how has that kind of influenced what you've done in music?
Man, I I knew at 18 that I was not a 9 to 5er. But
Interesting.
Bree, I couldn't tell you what the dream or the entrepreneurial thing was going to be, but I knew that the 9 to 5 wasn't me. Um, so I was taught like, you got to pay your dues, you got to feed yourself, so to speak, right? And so I have no problem doing that. I was taught and raised to take pride in what you do. So like we talked about, all the jobs I've had, no, they weren't the dream jobs, but I always looked at like serving, for instance. These are transferable skills. This is why I can do multiple projects at a time, and for the most part, stay organized, know what I'm doing, know who needs what, right? I do believe in A&R, especially on the creative side. Nobody likes to really do the admin. Well, there are people that do, but some of it I like, but most of it I'm on the creative side, right? But I feel like being A&R is like a PM, a project manager, right?
Hmm.
So these are things that I'm learning as I'm using my English degree, as I'm not using my English degree. And so for me, is just became like, well, I think music might be this entrepreneurial thing. And by the time 2019 came, it's like, well, Jastin, you've already been pretty active as an entrepreneur. Like you're doing things that a lot of people are just flat out afraid to do, would never do by themselves.
Mm.
You're following people who are doing it and you're learning from them. So it was terrifying to take the first step, but honestly, it felt comfortable. And of course, how my life has changed with challenges and health and things, it is absolutely what I needed, right? Let's be honest. I think a lot of us know it, are aware of it. These jobs often than not don't care about you as much as it may appear. And I've lost jobs on some crazy stuff. And
Mm,
so I think the part that I do love about being an entrepreneur too is like I get to dictate how I work and my workflow and what I need, right? And unfortunately, in recent years, I need a lot more in
mm.
terms of my health and just staying the course. But that doesn't mean I haven't used like the corporate experience to involve in how I work and how I meet people and how I do contracts or whatever the case is, right? So
Yep. Yeah. And I think for sure, like those of us with health issues, there's definitely a thing to be said for like working when we know we have the most energy, right? And as an entrepreneur,
absolutely.
you can do that. I can work at 5 a.m. if that's, 5 to 9 is my peak time of getting
Yep.
a lot of writing done or whatever. I can do
Yep.
that knowing that later in the day I might not feel well or I might just be tired or I might
Mhm.
just, I'm like an energy person where it's like, later in the day, if I look at a task, it sounds so hard to me because I'm tired, right? But
Yes.
in the morning, I can just whip it out. So
Yep.
I've had to learn that about myself. Do you
Yep.
find that's true about you? You have different rhythms?
Absolutely. I was gonna ask, are you a night owl?
I am not. I am
You're
a
not?
morning
Okay.
person.
Okay. Okay.
I get up at 5. I do some of my best writing and deep work before 8 or 9.
Wow. That's awesome. I gotta give you like the poetry snaps on that one.
But I'm
Um
like going to sleep at 8:30 or 9 at night, because I can't stay
I
awake.
I feel you. So for me, I'm a night owl, always have been. But like you said, due to the health, I have to regulate and pace myself extremely differently. And even after all these years, I still find a challenge. So for me, especially switching over from, corporate life to being an entrepreneur, I still try to get up at an early hour. Um, I'm one of those people, like, I don't necessarily like getting up early, but because I've always had to, it's like, okay, we got to get up, let's go, right?
Mm,
And so I think I've cultivated some things. It's like I enjoy it now, but because my body is usually very difficult in the morning, it's challenging. But once I get going, I'm going. But then for me, I can set out, let's say I have a full day. By noon, I can be exhausted. And
mm,
so that means now I have to reschedule meetings. Um, Only if I have like, I don't know, 5 things on the list, I only got through one thing. I have to be totally okay with that. I have to then rest. And sometimes that rest ends up being a few hours and I can get back up, maybe tackle another task. Maybe that meeting later in the day. I'm like, well, I think maybe if I rest, I can still make it. So I always give myself like at least an hour before to let people know, like, hey, what's going on.
mm,
And then if I get back to it, I do. But then other times, let's say I literally crash at like noon. Oh, I'm done for the rest of the
mm,
day. And then I have to be okay with that feeling because I'm such a productive person. I love what I do. I love working. I love showing up for people. I'm a believer, just because we met now, right? Officially, I represent you, you represent me. So I take that very seriously. So when I have
mm.
to adjust my day because of my health, though I know it's okay, it's still just like, oh my gosh, like, ugh. And then people's time is always valuable. So I still have those, dare I say, small things that I'm still like trying to be okay with, but they're
Yeah, I mean,
very
I think
huge.
if as long as you do it in a respectful way, like I know we had
Yes.
to reschedule, right? But it was
Yes.
like I
Yep.
knew immediately that you needed to reschedule. You set up another date, and I was like, good, okay, good.
Yep.
Not a
Yep.
big deal, right?
Yep. But the grace is so what's the word? Um it's just a warm feeling when people
Mm,
give you grace, especially if they don't deal with any health challenges or they
yep.
don't know someone that does, right? I think I have such gratitude for the people that I've been meeting over these 6 years, um, that as I've had to adjust And me just being the person that I am, open, transparent, and honest, like I'm okay. I'm I don't know if I could say I'm a man's man, but I think it's being a man's man is being vulnerable.
Mm.
It's a strength, and I'm okay with it. I share what I need to share. If I feel like I can share more, I will, but it always ends up helping someone else. So I'm totally okay with it. And so not once have I had somebody like, what, you rescheduled on me? Like what, I've never had that, but you know how people can be.
Yeah.
If they don't know it, they don't get it, they feel like, oh, you wasted their time. And it's like, not really, man. I've been in the bed all day trying to get myself together. So it's great when people do get it.
It is. Yeah. And I think, for me, that I also have an autoimmune disease, although it's pretty well in remission right now, but I've definitely gone through phases.
Okay, good.
Like for me, it's like the feeling that like I can spread my work out and it's fine. Like if I work on Saturday, like no big deal. I'm not going to
Hmm.
work all day, but like that gives me the space I need during the week
Yes.
if I needed to,
Yes.
work less on one of those days or whatever. Or
Yes.
like if I have family stuff, like my daughter has something that I need to take her to, like I
Hmm.
can spread it around. And that's what's so great about being an entrepreneur,
Yes.
not being
Yes.
stuck in that thing.
Oh, and feeling like, oh my gosh, I only have this amount of PTO, or
Yep.
in some cases, and I'll be honest, most of my jobs I did not have
Yep.
PTO. So if I didn't work, I didn't get paid,
That's right.
right? But I absolutely, that's probably one of the greatest joys is being able to do what you need to do or what you care to do for those around you. So being a parent is extremely important. If you have a partner, those things when you can adjust, like I can adjust at any given moment, whether it's for me, whether it's for my wife. Um, and it is the best feeling in the world to not have to worry about picking and choosing when I can take off or should take off, or how is this gonna, um, mess up my pay period. And of course, like I think we still all have those things, even as entrepreneurs, maybe a bit more so. But like you said, you can still dictate how that works. Um, and that is probably one of the greatest things that I've enjoyed being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things. It's funny when you've been in the corporate world and then you do entrepreneurship, you still have this guilt. Like I had this guilt yesterday when I'm like, I'm gonna make a cake at 1 p.m. because I want to. And like I should be
Yeah.
working. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
I'm gonna work
This
like
is what I want
later
to
in the
do. Yeah.
day or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Or you end up working all night. I know, like, my wife and I, we've been doing day dates um
Mm,
over the summer, right? So usually, it's a date night, but we've been doing day dates. And, granted, she's on the corporate side, so she does have to take off.
right.
But she has time, and so it's great. And then I do it the same way. I'm like, well, what day do you want to do? Okay, well, it's this day. Well, either I know there's like one time I didn't have anything scheduled, so it was like, okay, I'll just close the calendar. But then if
Mhm.
I do, then I just, hey, I need to reschedule. We'll move it to the next opening or whatever. And then I have my day date, and then usually I'm working when we get home. So,
Yep.
you know,
Yep, yep, you make it work. And I think another thing too is that if you're open about it, then you as an artist or as a, whatever, however you're working with people, you are attracting the people that get it, right?
yes,
Like if I,
very
when
true.
I was out performing, I was doing, along with my music, I was doing a signature talk about dealing with growing up dealing with adversity, right? And it didn't matter if they had the exact same adversity I did. They understood
Yeah.
dealing with adversity. They felt heard and seen. And then when they would, connect with me, it's like they knew I had this adversity and they weren't like expecting something different.
Hmm. Very true. Very true. I love that. I love that. And that's where I am too now with everything that I have been challenged with. It's like I'm understanding that's building better connection with people, making people okay with, man, I'm an artist too, and I deal with, such and such and such. It may not be a health thing, but like you said, it's anything. We're all dealing with something.
Yeah, it's aging
And
parents, it's kids,
right,
it's,
right, getting
all the
married,
things.
just
Yeah.
having a child, like whatever. And we know, I'm sure you've heard as much as I have, where a lot of artists feel like because of these transitions, these new life changes, they have to stop.
Oh yeah,
create. We
no,
have
I
to
get
stop
people
doing
all the
things.
time who
Yeah.
like they think that, when once they become a mom, they have to give up
Right.
being a musician.
Right. Right.
And
Absolutely not. I
and they want me
remember
to give them permission not to. You know
to
what I mean?
not to
But they're yeah.
right. I remember as a I want to say a first time dad, but when we had our child together, I remember he was I don't need maybe 4 or 5 months old. His mom was cooking and he ended up waking up and I had to feed him and I was in the middle of a studio session. You know
Mm.
exactly what I did. I fed him. Then I put him what is the thing that you put him on the pouch and hold him?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, I had him in the front and I was
Like the
finishing my
sling,
verse.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was finishing my verse in the other hand. Music was playing. He didn't
Oh my
even
gosh.
wake up to that. And so
Wow.
to your point, I'm like, yeah, you have to make adjustments. You have to be there for your family, for your people. But again, it can slow you down a little bit, right? You might have to take a little break and make some adjustments. Pivots is or pivoting is my favorite word. But it shouldn't make you feel like you have to stop. I think the biggest joy that I've had, especially being a parent, is allowing the kids to see me pursue something that was important to me. And like, I don't care if they want to be a scientist. Like,
Mm.
I want you to pursue it in the same way. Take pride in it, love what you're doing. As a parent, if I don't, it doesn't matter if I like it or not, if I'm knowledgeable about it, I'll figure it out, but I'm here to support you. And I think by showing that through music, I would like to think that those are some of the things they're like, yeah, I could do that too. Like I don't have to stop doing this. And so, again, as you know, it's all about a mindset. It's the way we have to change our perspective on I can versus I can't, despite what's happening.
Yep. Yep, for sure. Well, I want to hear about your A&R in your pocket. That sounds very intriguing. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm assuming it's
Yes.
some combination between A&R and technology.
Yeah, to a degree where I think we're getting there. Um, so like most people, I guess, who love working with the artists and enjoy development, and I guess in this case, artist development, Um, I was, I guess, on the traditional side of artist development, finding artists and developing their skill, helping them find their voice. My big thing is I want artists to not feel like they have to be what is trending,
Hmm.
what is most popular. And because I created my own genre and very confident about being different. I am definitely more enthused with creatives who are looking to do similar things, right?
That's so important. I
Um,
can't tell you how many recently like song submissions I've gotten for Women of Substance that they all sound like Sabrina Carpenter.
yeah,
They're all trying to
yeah,
be whatever's popular now.
whatever. Yes, and it's like I get it. It there is a challenge, and maybe it's harder for others than some that you want to show that influence. You love this artist. Um, but man, you can't be them. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, I know we all hear it, but you have to be you. And I'll say this to your audience, something I told myself maybe 10, maybe 8 years ago. I'm in hip hop, right? I I don't know, it just hit me one day and I was like, you know what? Jay-Z can't be Jastin Artis.
Mm.
And that just like blew my mind when I said, I was like, wait a minute. So what does that mean? Well, Jay-Z can't grab a guitar and play and do poetry and rap and do this and do that. Like he can't be me and I can't be him. And that's okay. He's great. He's done many great things. That let that be him. Now let me do what I'm doing and build what I'm trying to build. And I think that gave me even more authority to not only be me as Jastin Artist, the artist, but also find those people that are having difficulty with that. I think some kind of like they know like me, they know like I'm different. I'm stand out. I just need to figure it out. Some people, yes, they are sounding like everybody that we listen to. They have the talent though, but they're coachable to change that mindset. So
Mm.
um that's where it pretty much started for me. But then again, your health will make you do some things, won't it? Um, I had to pivot. I think this was my first year. Yeah, this is my first year at Full Sail University for my first master's program. And it was during I can't remember the week that is happens every year, but we celebrate folks who've done great things in the community and the industry. And so there's a lot of events, online events. And I heard someone talking about branding and marketing. And I literally remember it, Bree. I was brushing my teeth, I was listening, and then all of a sudden, I don't remember what they said, but A&R in the Pocket came to my
Mm,
head. And the reason was because I'm like, man, my health is doing this. I can't do what I've been doing. So how can I like bring this all together and condense it where I'm not doing everything, right? So the whole idea basically is for one, for the artist is to let them know that you're independent, but you're not alone,
mm,
right? I want creatives, artists to believe that they are leaders. They must act like it. They must be it. You're a business. And I know a lot of people still have a challenge with that, but I feel like it's my duty, my responsibility, my purpose to help people adjust to that. And so, how do you do that? Well, it's more than just singing and rapping or playing, whatever it is that you do, right? So, that's a big part of it. So, let's start there. Um, are you being your true self or are you trying to sound like everybody else? Let's
mm,
see where you can adjust. And then, you know, over the years, I'm sure you've heard the same thing. Everybody wants to get signed, everybody wants to have fans, but nobody is thinking about the business aspects, right? Like, oh, I want to get paid. I want to get, the advance money, but you not even registered with your performing rights organization, or
mhm,
you have a business checking account, or when you say contracts, you flip out,
mm,
right? Like, these are things, if you want this life, you want to be this A-list artist, but you don't have these things in order, it's not adding up. And so I'm pushing and helping folks understanding that and getting the right tools, more of the foundation into building that side as much as their creative side. Then internally, the big idea was, okay, well, how do I take all this weight off of me with finding the artist, doing the pitching and all the lead stuff and um, then whatever project they're working on, I'm helping them, cultivate it. I'm making sure obviously the quality is there, the songwriting is there, like all these different things. Um, Ideally engineering it, could be producing it. Like, oh my gosh, how can I condense this? Well, let's build a network of people, of independent professionals in all areas of music. So COVID allowed me to well, I guess I won't say it allowed me to, but it seemed like that was the time to really build that. And so over these years, I've just been meeting people and figuring out like, hey, what you do could be very beneficial. And so the idea internally is helping other entrepreneurs get business work on projects. We help each other, the whole bartering services,
mhm,
um, building our clientele that way when I need support for, let's say, an engineer, and I'm proud to say this, I have met and worked with a few female engineers
mhm,
that I've used for myself, trying to get more work for them. Because I've over the years I've met a lot of people who are kind of like just starting or haven't been at it that long, and so uh, that is probably like the biggest part of A&R in a pocket. But just also, I guess lastly, I'll just say the idea that you need to be signed to be successful. Um, I'm not taking away from anyone. Yes, I think we all want that dream. But the reality is, which I think a lot of people don't realize, is that this money that you want from this major label, it's a loan. And so you have to pay it back. And
mhm,
like anything else, you hope that goes well. Sometimes it does not. I mean,
Hmm.
there's no guarantees, right? Um, but I want people to understand that you don't have to get signed to be successful. Now, granted, success is, was it objective, subjective?
Yep.
Um, but I think for the most part, when you can say that your music is not only impacting people, but it's getting you paid, it's paying your car note, it's paying your rent or your mortgage, or I don't care if it's paying your internet bill, like that's success, right?
Yep.
And so it takes time. It's not just, oh, we can just do it. I know we're in this space now where it feels like we can, and to a degree, it is, and it can be. But what happens when you get that first hit or you get that viral moment? Do you have the things in place to be able to handle it? And
Hmm.
that's where I want to help folks understand and be strong enough and confident um, when those moments come. So, yeah, hopefully I explained that in a,
Yeah, no, you did. I love that. I love that. Just having that. It's basically the resources of a label
yes.
without having a label,
Yep.
which
Absolutely.
is what we really all need. We
Yes.
either need that or we need a network
Hmm.
of people that know people that you
Yep.
could trust,
Yep.
and that's really what you're
Absolutely.
providing as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, this has been such a great conversation. I've loved, getting to talk with you, especially of you being really open about health issues. I know a lot of people in our audience, are dealing with life
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
are dealing
Yeah.
with health circumstances that make it harder. And that doesn't mean you have to stop. It just might mean that it looks a little bit different than you had envisioned. That's always a
That's
thing, right?
right.
We're in our
Yep.
20s, we envision things a certain way. And as
Hmm.
life unfolds, we have to change our vision a little
That's
bit.
right. That's right.
Right.
And I
Well,
will
let
say, Bree,
everybody, what was that? Go ahead.
I know I was gonna say there's a part of what I'm still challenged with is that, and I think, this is not necessarily about belief, but for me, being a man of faith, it's like, okay, God, can you take the little bit that I'm giving you now and do something with it? And he's like, yes, I can.
Yep,
And I'm
it's
like,
like
oh my
the
gosh, like this is new. This is weird. I feel like I have to do so much to get the
mm,
bigger rewards. But now I'm understanding even with whatever I can commit to, whatever I can do and be accountable and responsible for, something still can happen. And that could be just being on a podcast. That could be meeting a new person that found me on IG. Like those moments are so impactful and then they start to build up. So just again, shifting the process about what it looks like versus what you thought it had to be is huge.
I like that. It's like the loaves and fishes, right? You only have
Yeah. Yep.
5 loaves and 2 fishes or whatever, and
Yep.
that actually can turn, with God and the faith that it can
Hmm.
turn into something much bigger. But you have to
Absolutely.
bring those, right? You
Yeah,
have to,
exact
instead of
right,
being like,
right.
oh no, this is too little, I can't do
Yep.
anything.
Yep. You still gotta do your part, no matter how small. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, speaking of IG, let us know like where people can find you online, your website, your social media.
Yes, so the best way to reach out to me is jastinartis.com. That's JASTINARTIS.com. I'm also on most things, most social medias. Again, as Jastin Artist, I'm the only one, so it makes it that much easier. But I will say LinkedIn is your best friend, y'all. I love LinkedIn. Definitely reach out to me there. But IG, Twitter, or X, Facebook still is around for me. People still reach out to me there. I feel like I'm missing one. TikTok.
Hmm.
I'm on that one as well. So
Cool. All right, you guys reach out to him, ask him any questions that came
absolutely,
up as you were listening to this interview. If you need any encouragement to keep going, he's the guy. He's
absolutely.
definitely just authentic and encouraging, and I appreciate that about you. And I'm so glad that we had this interview. I think it's going to be really encouraging to everybody that listens.
Thank you so much, Bree. It was a fun time with you. And I just want to shout you out. Thank you for all that you do, have been doing, and will do, not only for women, but even for men like me. So I
You're
appreciate you.
welcome.